Welcome to the Cover One Matchup Show, where we're going to try to take you a little bit behind the scenes into what the Bills are going to look at for potential weaknesses that they can take advantage of for their upcoming opponents. This week, Eric Turner is going to dive into the Bills' offense and how they may approach this Jets defense. Are they going to remain up-tempo like we saw last year? What steps can they take to take advantage of the Jets' lack of depth in the secondary and linebacker core? Let's take a look at the film.
Scheming against a Greg Williams defense is not an easy task because he runs one of the most aggressive schemes in the NFL. It'll show an array of looks pre-snap, but morph into something completely different post-snap. But the complexity relies heavily on pressure generated by bringing an extra defender or two on blitzes. In 2019, the Jets blitzed the third most per Pro Football Focus, and that's why Dave will use a lot of no-huddle and up-tempo against the Jets. So Bills fans saw Elam up at the line of scrimmage calling plays in their first matchup as a way to offset the array of blitzes that Williams likely schemed all offseason. But the no-huddle also forced the Jets to play some pretty vanilla coverages, making reads for Elam much easier. With the teams meeting again, I could see the Bills using the same strategy. But this time, instead of attacking with 21 personnel, which is 2 running backs and 1 tight end, something they did 22% of the time in their 2 matchups last year, I could see them using more 10 and 20 personnel, true spread looks, to take away their strength, the defensive front. If the Bills use the no-huddle and these personnel groupings, how will the Jets defend it? In 10 personnel, so 1 running back and 4 wide receivers, will the Jets play nickel or add another defensive back and play dime? Do they have the talent to match up with Diggs, Brown, Beasley, Davis, and Singletary or Moss? When the Bills go to 20 personnel, what will the Jets' plan be? Play base defense with more linebackers and stop the run, but hope to defend Diggs, Beasley, Brown, Moss, and Singletary if they choose to pass? If you go to nickel or dime, asking a defensive back to bring down a back like Moss could spell doom. These 2 personnel groupings are the trend right now, and everyone is installing them. The matchup advantages the Bills now have with the talent on that side of the ball are endless. Calling a few plays from these groupings to see how the Jets are going to defend them would be smart. Doing it from the no-huddle to expose the scheme and lack of talent could really open up the season with a bang.
All right, now that we saw that from Eric, let's turn to Russell Brown, who's going to walk us through the Bills' defense and how they're going to approach this Jets offense. What things can they take advantage of, and how are they going to approach Jamison Crowder coming out of the slot? It'll be interesting to see what they do. Let's take a look at the film.
As we approach the first week of the season, the Buffalo Bills will host the New York Jets this Sunday. Another key area that we need to pay attention to is how the Jets will utilize their wide receivers. And as you can tell, there isn't much star power at the position, but Jamison Crowder is their best wide receiver and top offensive weapon, not named Le'Veon Bell. Crowder is Darnold's outlet, option route runner, and hot route guy. Last season, Crowder had the best year of his career, his first season with the Jets. He had 119 targets for 78 receptions with 834 yards and 6 touchdowns. One area that he thrived was underneath. The Jets are aligned in trips right. Aligned in the slot, you can see Crowder, and as the play begins to break down, Crowder works towards the middle of the field, gets wide open, and takes off after the catch for the first down. This is where Sam Darnold thrives underneath, and Crowder becomes that go-to guy for him. Against the Bills last year, he had 25 targets for 22 receptions and 155 yards with 1 touchdown and 10 first downs. In 2019, Crowder played 805 total snaps according to Pro Football Focus. 590 of them were in the slot. You can see where White blitzes and Crowder runs the out route, beats the man coverage. This was good enough for a first down, and this is something that we could very well see quite a bit on Sunday against the Bills. Lastly, Crowder is used in the backfield to help ID coverages. He'll motion to the top of the screen here. That's when the option route comes into play, and that's where Crowder catches the ball and gets the first down. These are the types of plays that you're going to have to be on the lookout for on Sunday with the Bills and the Jets game. Like I said, there's not a lot of star power within the Jets wide receiver group, but Jamison Crowder is by far the most consistent wide receiver that they have, and he is by far the best wide receiver that they have. Be prepared to see him in and out of the slot, lined on the outside, and doing plenty after the catch. He was very successful against the Bills last year and could be this year, but the additions of A.J. Klein and Josh Norman to their defense could very well help them in man coverage and in zone coverage to prevent him from creating any more yards after the catch or having those dominating performances that he had last year against the Bills.
Today's C1 Spotlight is on Jets defensive tackle Steve Mclendon. Mclendon is one of the longest tenured Jets on the roster, but also one of the most respected. When he talks, players listen. The captain is going into his 11th year, and he is the unquestioned leader and a major piece along the defensive line. The 34-year-old is used at nose tackle when the Jets play an odd front, but can kick out to 2-eye, 3, or 4-eye when needed. In 2019, Mclendon registered 3 sacks, 4 QB hits, and 12 QB hurries per Pro Football Focus. His versatility at 6'3", 310 pounds is a nod to his understanding of leverage, motor, and technique. Whether he's rushing the passer or stacking against the run, his hand usage pops on film. He consistently wins the hand battle early with good placement. Look at him dart across the center's face, throw a quick long arm, which gets the center stumbling, then chops down the outside hand to disengage and register the QB hit. He's a savvy veteran who sees run blocking concepts very quickly, which is why whether he is 1 or 2 gapping, he is a difficult defender to move. Mclendon's hands and feet work well in tandem, even as he needs to pursue down the line of scrimmage. Mclendon sees the guard attempting to bounce him over to the center, making the block easier on the pivot man. The center swings his hips around to reach Mclendon, but thanks to Mclendon's hand placement, power, and active feet, he isn't sealed off for long. Look at how quick off the ball he is on this play. Mclendon gets his hands inside on the tackle, and with zero help from the guard, the play doesn't stand a chance. Mclendon has the pad level, hand placement, and power to shut this play down. His technique with his hands serves him well as a run defender who is 1 or 2 gapping, but also when he needs to process from run to pass. Watch him do that here. Once he reads pass, he transitions to power to bring Carson Wentz down. Every rep is the same. His targeting and pop are executed just like he's practicing against the bags. Mclendon consistently wins hand and positional leverage, which is why he's one of the most underrated run stoppers in the league. Here he sees a combo block coming from the center, so he drops the near knee to anchor and then disengages as the center peels off for the linebacker. Mclendon finished 2019 as one of the Jets' best players. He's super reliable against the run and can catch offensive linemen off guard as a pass rusher. If the Bills want to establish a run against a Jets defense that was ranked 2nd in Football Outsiders rushing DVOA, they will likely need to run the ball along the perimeter, specifically outside the defensive end but inside the linebacker, much like they did last year. Devin Singletary broke off several runs when the Bills used gap schemes to drive a wedge along the perimeter to gain an alley for their backs. These sort of plays will minimize guys like Mclendon, Quinnen Williams, and Nathan Shepard. It will use angles and positional leverage rather than pure power to outflank those defenders in order to get the run game going. The Jets' defensive front, led by Mclendon, is without a doubt their strength on that side of the ball. Securing them will make Josh Allen and the offense's job much easier. If Gregg Williams senses any sort of blood in the water, he can dial up the pressure and get those defenders a lot more one-on-ones. This could force Allen to operate under pressure, which isn't his strong suit. The offensive line needs to stay on top of their responsibilities, but more importantly, their technique against a defender like Mclendon.
All right, now we're going to hand it over to one of my favorite Bills content contributors. You know him from WGR, you know him from the content he's done here with Cover One, my man, quarterback guru Nate Geary. He's taken a look at some of Sam Darnold's past performances here against the Buffalo Bills. What has Sam done well? What can the Bills defense do to slow him down? Take a look.
The Bills start their 2020 division title race against a familiar foe in the New York Jets at home. Although there won't be any fans in the stands this Sunday, Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier hope to have the Jets' third-year quarterback Sam Darnold seeing ghosts, just like he did in his primetime matchup against the Patriots last season. This week, my focus is on ways to stop Darnold and the Jets offense early and often by taking away the strengths of Darnold's game and forcing the Jets and Adam Gase to put the ball in the air to a group of receivers not many people will recognize. In Darnold's 2 matchups against the Bills last season, one in Week 1 against the Bills starters, and then again in Week 17 against mostly Bills backups, Darnold failed to impress, throwing for only a combined 374 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, but most importantly, under 5 yards an attempt. What the Bills were able to do well in both matchups in 2019 was keep Darnold in the pocket, forcing him to get rid of the ball on time. It's when Darnold can utilize both play action and the ability to extend plays with his feet That's really where Darnold becomes an issue for opposing defenses and defensive coordinators. That means my attention this week is on the retooled Bills defensive line, starting with Mario Addison and Jerry Hughes, who will be going up against the Jets' rookie left tackle, Mekhi Becton. In order to keep Darnold's yards per attempt number down like they did on both occasions last season, the Bills will have to rely on their outside pass rush and force Darnold to step up in the pocket to make throws down the field.
What's great about the Bills scheme and guys like yourself and guys that the Bills have now is that any one of these defenders along the line of scrimmage have the capability to rush, right?
Yeah, everybody does. And I think even Tremaine, even though that's not something he naturally does, has developed a game as well. And then obviously Matt Milano, we blitz him a lot as well. And so right now we're just causing a little bit of confusion. And so for defense, it's all about making the thing look the same, but it ends up being something different, whether it's the pattern of game that we're running. Because right now we're running a 3-man game. Me and Ed are trying to pick and penetrate for Tremaine to come around. Or, you know, sometimes we may bring Matt off the edge. So they may not quite be sure about what's going on right now. But my job and Ed's job is to really get all the attention of the center and the guard that I'm lined up over right now, 67. Notice that I'm not going directly in there so that they can pass things off, punch and pass. I'm trying to hold number 67's eyes as long as possible. Ed is trying to hold 55's eyes as long as possible, because the person that really has to shovel it on this play is Ed Oliver, because see, 70 is coming right now. He's tracking Tremaine, and so he has to really shovel it. He does a great job of expecting contact and getting vertical. I'm holding 2 right now, really just trying to drive back, and Tremaine is scraping for skin. Now they're able to really, they do a fairly good job on this. I think the person that really makes this play is Jerry Hughes coming off the edge. Most guys will get too high and keep running and will allow Darnold not only to have the escape line in the B gap, but then be able to run away from anybody that does find their way through. Luckily, I find my way over Ed on this. Now, if Jerry hadn't set that edge right there and he ran upfield, it would have gave Sam Darnold a way to escape laterally away from me and run away from me and maybe throw the ball away late, or even maybe outrun me and make a play with his legs. And so by him confining that B gap for me, allowed me to overlap Ed with his great penetration. And then everybody, obviously, you can see is hunting up the ball at that point, getting to it and making sure that we get Sam down.
Yeah, this is a great job and a great point about, Jerry Hughes. Murphy's also kind of doing a good job of, holding the edge of that pocket as that, 3-man game kind of takes place here. I really just like the power that you and Ed Oliver came with. Because, again, guys, watch where the ball's spotted at the 50, and then watch as Darnold drops his eyes and steps up in the pocket. Look where that line of scrimmage is now. That's reestablishing the line of scrimmage in the Bills' favor. And, I mean, that's really tough for a guy like that, for Darnold to, make this throw without being able to step in. I mean, this is reestablishing the line of scrimmage, and a great job by you guys up the middle. And that's the quarterback's worst enemy, right, Lorenzo?
Yeah, anytime you get, pressure, and you look at the greatest quarterback of all time, right, Tom Brady. He becomes very average when he gets pressure up the middle in his face. All quarterbacks are able to step up versus edge rushers. But guys that are dominant, if you can create that pressure in their face, they're not able to step into the ball. They really can't see downfield as much because they have 6'7", 6'8" linemen in their face. And so that's the ultimate equalizer anytime that you're playing a great quarterback.
That's where I can see Ed Oliver really going to work this upcoming week, right up in the middle, which is where Sam Darnold is most vulnerable to make mistakes. According to Pro Football Focus, no quarterback in football last year had a higher pressure rate than Darnold at 42% of his dropbacks, and no quarterback had a worse differential in their passing grade when under pressure than Darnold did. So pressure this week is the key to a Bills victory.
Great stuff there by Eric, Russ, and Nate. I know I learned a lot about the upcoming matchup here, week 1 against the Jets. I hope you guys did too. That is the point of this show. We look forward to doing this every single week, so make sure that you're looking out for the content dropping every single week before the game, and we'll catch you guys next week after a nice Bills victory heading into week 2. So thank you for watching the Cover 1 matchup show, and we'll see you again next week.